one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
Ooh, yeah. Altcoins are on their way down to some terrifying price levels that I've been looking out for. Kind of scary now that we're knocking on the door of these, as Bitcoin is coming to its make or break moment. I was planning on just creating a bunch of other content today, but I see this unfolding on the charts and I have to go live to bring you this information. We also have a likely government shutdown. The voting is not going well in the halls of these elected officials right now. And it's looking kind of grim. And I have my own internal thoughts of what's going to come out of Trump's mouth this Friday after markets close. I'm going to share with you on today's episode so that we are not surprised. Honestly, God, you're right. The light is green. Hold on. I don't know if I can change it live time. Where's Owen? Owen! Unbelievable. Owen might be able to hear me and come in and change those. I might actually send him a message here because you know what? You're right. You know what? You're right. And I was bearish this morning. I should have turned them red this morning. We changed the lights depending on the direction of the quant calls in the Discord and the general movement of the market. A lot of stuff going on in Portland in the chat today. Shout out to you, Aaron. Gary. I don't know what this name is. Gary Gade. Altcoin Doomsday. You know what? We're gonna take a look at the some of the targets that were created on October 10th that might be the magnets for where these projects are likely to cascade down to. And let me know in the chat. Are you scared? Are you hopeful for lower prices? Or are you just tuning out, right? Are you just here for the unhinged rants? Let me know down in the comments. Let's go look at all the reasons why we are cascading right now to the downside. So if you can, I know I host, I'm DZ's uglier brother on the channel at Drew Whitert. I'm going to keep this picture though. I think AI did me up. It's not like total AI, but they gussied me up a little bit. They took this freckle out right there, right? That's huge. You know what? Why GPUs are going to cost an arm and a leg is all because it took a freckle out of my face on this photograph. So shout out to that. Hello. Thanks, Wally. Thank you very much. And I hope you guys do go check out the video I laid out last night, because there's not a bunch of altcoins I can feel good about in this current environment. I'm looking at ones that produce a lot of revenue and altcoins that essentially have a use case, have a meaning, reason to exist. Those are the things that I've whittled all of my focus down into. And I did put a video out last night on Discover Crypto about a token called Morpho. I do implore you to go check it out just to find all the reasons why. Right. Just find out all the reasons why I still care about this thing, even though the markets are looking so ugly. There's a good reason why. And this is the average bro in crypto cooking dinner tonight, shaving some ice, put it in the skillet, put it in the crusher. You can make ice many, many different ways, you guys. It's not all that bad. This is such a real situation for crypto bros right now. It is what it is. We have seasons of up and seasons of extreme pain. And oh no, oh please God, no. I was hoping we weren't going to be there by the time I got to this section of the show. Please, no, God, no. Michael Scott, terrified of this. So the trend line for Bitcoin, Lord love a duck, we need to hold that trend line. This goes back to actually the previous market local tops in 2024. We can extrapolate this a little bit. It goes into the guts of the tops of 2021, end of 2021 right here as well. It's kind of terrifying. If you guys watch my other channel, The Basement, and I think I even said it on this channel, I did have a moment where I'm happy with the Toyota Sienna and how it treated me. The transmission died on it, and the altcoin sector looks so sketchy. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a lot of exposure off the table. I went and picked up a Toyota Sequoia, right? And I'm keeping the minivan, but I will say that I've only been in this situation where I had to take big chunks out of altcoins 3 times in my crypto career. It was here, and I was like, there's no, I'm probably selling, and this is probably going to go the other way. So this zone, obviously, as you heard last week with the Sequoia, and I'd shout out to Toyota. And then I'll give you other times. So March of 2024, where does that land on the graph here? March of 2024. Oh my God. Okay. So March of 2024 was the other time, and this is when my wife wanted to upgrade vehicles. She wanted a sewing shop. She wanted all kinds of cool stuff, which I like, sewing shops, cash generating. But honestly, it's the joy that she derives out of her sewing in that shop that's all worth everything. And also, I needed to get the minivan originally because I found out I was going to have twins, and I was just on my up and coming crypto, So I did all my life savings in the COVID dip, and then I had to take profits to be able to get a nice new Toyota minivan in basically October, November of 2021. So in that range, and I took all the profits off Ethereum, which at the time was $4,500. I thought I was a fool. I was listening to all these people online say, oh no, Ethereum's going to $10,000. Don't sell your crypto, you fool. What are you doing? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to sell to take care of my kids. Boom. Went down 2 lows. Okay. And then I'm laughing. I bought up this low because it's pretty easy. It's just the previous all-time high, lower than the cost to produce Bitcoin. I was like, great. I'll back up the truck once again, add to the portfolio, did a lot of my major portfolio moves in this range. And then, the whole idea with the sewing shop and the new car and all that stuff, it happened. And so now, guys, I had to do it again in this zone. And I was still well up on the altcoins that I sold, thank God. But it felt like I was selling at this local low, and it appears that is not the case. And so I think the Drew altcoin distress signal has 3 major data points at this point that pretty much have been proven. This is a proven process here. Yes, I changed the damn transmission fluid. I ran it. I got that Sienna up to I think it's got 210,000 miles. Engine's flawless on it, so I'm just going to put a new transmission into it and just keep it. But yeah, so it is what it is. I don't know what you guys think I should do. I like the Sienna. I do fit in it. There's not a bunch of cars out there that I fit comfortably in. Enough about me, though. Let's talk about Bitcoin. So the problem here and why this trend line has ugly, ugly confluence lies within the visible volume profile. Okay. The visible volume profile is showing me some things that make me worry. Now I'm looking and I'm isolating the current range of price action between $74,000 up to the recent peak at 126,000. And the lower end of the main volume node, which is in the guts of it, the point of control for price and volume in this range. The lower end of this volume node sits at $84,000, guys. And if you back up and include all of the data from the, Japanese yen carry trade, and when we hit all-time highs ahead of schedule back in March of 2024, the real point of control on this zone is $62,000. Now, the price to produce Bitcoin sits at the bottom end of this wick, this Trump trade crash out wick at $74,000. So if things just generally closely repeat to the last time we started tickling the zone of the price to produce Bitcoin, we did fall slightly below the price to produce Bitcoin by about 14%. As you can see there, the price to produce back in 2022, November 22, was at $19,000. We dipped down to about 16.5 at one moment, 15.9. And you're damn right, I bought this dip, but it was scary. Right? It was scary. Then, we obviously did what we did. We moved up to the upside. It was great. And honestly, I feel great about that. The price to produce right now sits, I'll just draw this out and kind of measure out the potentials here if history absolutely repeats itself. So price to produce at 74. Let's say we drop by not 14%, but 10% below that zone. That's very ugly. That is very ugly. That's coming down to about $65,000. Hence why the back up the truck green box is drawn here. I think the price to produce will, if you're backed up looking at this chart years from now, will have been that bouncy point if things keep going to the downside from where we're at right now. But this plan is something that Standard Chartered had actually put out a little bit ago. I think it was last week. They're looking about a washout down from where we are because of all the uncertainty and the tariffs and everything, like Trump's kidnapping people, whatever. So problems, right? And the market goes down, but then rallies and is able to accomplish $150,000 at the end of 2026. In the later part of 2026, after a new Fed chair comes in, things start looking a little bit more uppity. But then another washout, and this is the institutions choosing violence on you. If you look at this, they've done this many, many times since the ETFs have been in place. The price action, and honestly, like the price action even did this in the last bear market where it washes down to previous highs. But look at this. This is kind of crazy. So you run up, down to exactly that previous peak, run up, down to exactly that previous peak, and now the same thing again. So Standard Chartered is actually feeling like, 2027 will be an experience at the front end where you wash back down to 120-ish range and then run it all the way up to $200,000. And if you think about it from a game theory perspective, from if you're BlackRock or some major organization that doesn't want retail to necessarily be able to just trade circles around you, you scared the living out of people by washing the price back down to previous all-time highs. And in essence, if you're looking at this on the larger time frames, this will look like a staircase up and to the right with extreme pain in between point A and point B. And nothing goes up in a straight line forever, right? And, I got some side notes on gold. What do we got here? Super chat here. Let me see here. J. Andrew, 80% hype. So you did okay. Sell hype and buy Bitcoin and alts now. Be careful about alts in this environment, brother. Be careful about alts. I was actually highlighting hype is pumping in this environment as well because lots of revenue, lots of adoption of trading, and decentralized trading is something that I think is a very, very strong narrative. Obviously, taking profits off the table and experiencing some joy in this current environment is something that honestly I feel good about doing, right? Because everything's been so brutal. But hype is a project and a setup that I try really hard to poke holes in things to go against my general hopeful romantic thesis of crypto. Hype is kind of difficult to poke holes in the general thesis of its excitement and the upward potential of it. The more that we see controls on people's money across the world and the more walls that these banks put up in between retail and crypto, the better hype's going to do, the better privacy coins and the privacy sector is going to do. So it's hard to pick a hole in that one. Let's see here. Oh, snap. Good afternoon, Patton. And let me know if I do miss any super chats. I really appreciate you guys joining me on this intense afternoon. Now, let's look at liquidation levels really quickly before we get into the guts of all the macro stuff and all the reasons why we're crashing. Let's see if we have longs getting exhausted here. It looks like there's a short-term little uppity potential here at 85.7. Bunch of shorts, late shorts are getting involved with this. Look at the weekly. Let's see if we can get some more data on this to see. Holy cow, look at all that liquidity gobbled up like it was nothing. Ooh. Okay. I mean, this has given me a slight hope here. Seeing that much liquidity eaten up. I mean, we can't pull over any further. We've already pulled over. We can't pull over any further. So this kind of vibe is giving me. Thank you, Alexander, for dropping. Yeah, give me a follow on Twitter at Drew Whitert. I am doxxed. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. There's a lot of liquidity to the downside that was just gobbled up. That's actually, and we haven't lost this wick yet. This wick is at $80,500. So we are watching this pretty closely. If Bitcoin goes negative, will you have to pay your broker? I just do cold custody on Arculus, brother, So, I'm not the best guy to ask that question. So you're saying there's a chance. Yeah, I mean, there's a chance we find a bounce. It looks like the liquidity to the downside's done been eaten, at least within the day. We'll see. But gold also wiped out $2.5 trillion worth of market cap in the matter of 30 minutes. So gold is actually a graph I wanted to show on this episode as well, because gold's getting frisky. Okay. Gold has been going absolutely parabolic. When I look at the gold chart, it tells me we're going to war. When I look at something like this happening on gold, it's already like, I don't even know what the market cap is of this thing by now. It's probably over $40 trillion. Today is very much so turbulence for gold. If you look, it's got a Darth Maul wick, and this is not normal, especially with how high the market cap is now of gold, to go from high to low down by 8.8%, nearly a 10% dip within a singular trading day on gold. This is absolutely insane. This is the daily chart on gold. It is down currently, but honestly, man, it pumped up very, very hard, hit $5,600. And the last time we see these ugly things was stagflation in the US, right? So this is not a good signal. This signals basically the economy is breaking on the underside of it. And my intuition tells me that this means the loss of trust in central banks is really coming to a hard-sided conclusion, and potentially larger conflicts on the horizon. Fear and greed, fear sitting at 26 on the crypto markets, and on the stock market, still in greed. On gold, you're at like a 90 plus percent greed level on gold, which is absolutely insane. And the general market in crypto is absolutely bleeding. So Bitcoin's down by 6.2%, Ethereum down by 7.5%. Notable, the point of control, the main volume node on Ethereum sits at $2,500, or it's right around like $2,500. So essentially, you're going to see, if we do continue cascade down, you're going to see some price turbulence, attempts to come back to the upside around 2,500. The scary part is, what happens to altcoins when we do enter a bear market. But generally, the graph isn't looking horribly scary on Ethereum. I will say that, just looking at it from a larger time frame. The scarier parts for me are looking at things like this, like let's say XRP, and the 10-10 washout wicks probably represent where true buying interest is on a lot of these lower market cap altcoins. XRP 10-10 washout signal shows at $1.50 right now. So just be careful out there, right? I understand that you might have FOMO. You might be trying to hammer in, but be cognizant that we are still very, very early. Plezzy Bear, we are in a bear market. I'm sure Plezzy's happy about this. It's in the name, Plezzy Bear. I don't know if I can call this a true bear market. And like, here's the deal. Look at this. So Bitcoin in a real bear market of history's past, we dropped by 85 some odd percent on this dip, about 84%. We dropped by 75% from 21 to 2023, right? 76% right here. So in essence, if this is just a simply repeated bear market and a diminished loss aspect to Bitcoin also included in that thesis, because that's what we see on the data leading up to this event, then you would expect to see around like a 60% drawback from all-time highs on Bitcoin. That takes you well below the price to produce. That takes you to about $50,000. I really just, my heart of heart tells me that the price to produce the Bitcoin and all of this volume that's happened at the guts of when ETFs went live and when BlackRock started getting their clients involved. These are longer term holders than your average crypto degen that was kind of driving the markets back in these old markets. So we're basically playing a completely different game, different time frames of holders. And I think the more likely bounce point is here in the mid 60s. I do feel that way. And in general, you can call this, it's a washout for sure. It's a strong washout. I really don't know if it's like, I wouldn't say like a hardcore bear market is going to be able to take hold unless we lose that $50,000 mark. And I kind of doubt that that's there. So, I'm fine with it. I like cheaper Bitcoin. And as I said for many, many years, max pain to me in crypto is up only, right? Not giving those entry points of things that I like in crypto. So you take it or you leave it, right? You take it or you leave it, and you get the crypto you have at the price you deserve. So This is interesting. The SEC and the CFTC are expected to sign an agreement on crypto oversight right as we go to hell in a handbasket. Wonderful timing. Thank you very much for the expedited decision to stop the massive market manipulation right as we are knocking on the shelf of new lows, right? New lows in this year. So crypto was a lot funner when governments weren't involved. I will absolutely say that. I think in general, I've never felt so strongly that like stable coins and Bitcoin and lending markets are here to stay in crypto. But now that the government's involved, I feel icky about it. I feel really icky, right? I mean, for me, calling it a bear market or like where I treat a bear market where I back up the truck, dossier would be around like in the 60s. If we get into that old trading range that I just showed in the 60s, I'll be like, all right, this is the load up the truck moment. 10 years from now, I'm going to be happy I bought. But yeah, right now is a bear. And that's kind of my zone, right? If we do bounce off of where we're at right now, it's just going to be a macro higher low, and it's not really a bear market. So this is also what Trump was saying. Trump had a meeting today. He said he's going to announce, let's have a listen. He's going to announce who the next Fed's going to be.
Next week, I think sometime, Scott and Howard and everybody, we're going to be announcing the head of the Fed, who that will be. And it'll be a person that will, I think, do a good job. Next week,
I think it's going to be Rick Ryder from BlackRock. There is a likelihood in my mind that BlackRock is finding a front end seat at the table. Friends of Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. The Federal Reserve rate decision yesterday, though, didn't really bother me. I don't think that, holding rates, I don't really think that it affected us that much. I think more so it's the Trump comments about more tariffs. Steeper tariffs are inbound. We're being very nice about it, Trump said this morning. So I think the markets heard this and they're like, okay, we're probably going to have more sell-offs. And this was happening right as Trump was truthing. The U.S. Senate looks like they tried to advance a funding bill for the government. Things did not go well. Let's have a listen to how this went in the halls of the Senate today. We got the talking heads. Mark Zuckerberg's receiving some.
On this vote, the yeas are 45, the nays are 55.
Nays 55, yeas 45. So there is a lot of political aggravation between the Dems and the Republicans right now. They're working on making another government shutdown end. And, I hope they leave the government shut down forever. Honestly, let's light this candle. Raise interest rates. Shut the government down forever. I am so tired of the Federal Reserve and all of these talking heads being in control of our buying power and how well we can do lying about inflation levels. All of it. Just all of it. Just keep it shut down, in my opinion. Now on Polymarket, U.S. government shutdown on Saturday, looking pretty likely. We rose very aggressively from 9% yes to 79% yes over the course of the last few days. And today you were trying to see a dip as the vote was happening, and nope, they still hate each other and they're going to try to shut it down. Honestly, leave it shut down. I think the free market does fine. And I think that we could figure our own stuff out without their intervention. I absolutely do feel that way. Now, the Senate is also voting on if we should stop the funding for other government installations here across seas. Will be interesting if they vote yes to continue funding this organization, but decide to shut down your own country's funding because of their political partisanship. That would be a sure tell on where intentions really are for these elected leaders, right? Now, Microsoft taking a little bit of a dip, extends a decline to 12% on the day today, on track for its biggest drop in nearly 6 years on slowing cloud growth. So we see some slowdown to the cloud infrastructure plays from Microsoft, a little bit of uncertainty. In general, though, NVIDIA is still in control of which direction the general stock market goes. NVIDIA is still holding pretty high levels today. So I don't think we're going to hell in a handbasket there. There's a potential for sure. Like, let's say Xi decides to do a full blockade. of that country that I shouldn't say on this channel because we'll get demonetized. But you know what I'm talking about, the country that makes all the chips. You see that, NVIDIA, boo, and then the rest of Wall Street, big bada boom, right? Big bada boom. So that is something that's in my mind. And this is the insane part. We're in this weird moment where the S&P 500 keeps making new all-time highs. Jobless claims keep going up. They're saying we're in a recession, but the Wall Street sector is going to new all-time highs over and over again. Like, what the hell is going on? And then you have Elon Musk talking about universal high income, UHI. And this is from Peter Diamandis. Recent interview on Moonshot podcast with Elon Musk. They dove into this notion of universal high income, okay? And Elon decides to comment on this. Just send money to all citizens from the US government magic money computers. Actually, it's kind of scary that they label this as magic money computer within the government. That sounds like a problem to me, first and foremost. So long as the output of goods and services exceeds the money supply, which it will with AI and robotics at scale, everything will be fine. Well, I got a question for Elon Musk, the genius. What happens to an economy 5 years down the line if you impoverish your population that is the buyer of the goods? You replace all of them with AI that, yeah, can produce the goods for a very low cost, but is there any buyers left? And how long can the magic government money computer continue to operate until the buying power of that dollar goes literally to zero? A setup for almost like a Weimar Republic hyperinflationary event here in the United States. This is why we must own hard-sided assets. Now, I do want to take a look at the DXY. Yesterday during the Fed meeting, Jay Powell out there acting all hardcore. Yesterday, Jerome Powell was hawkish, and he wants to hold interest rates where they are, potentially even hinting at raising interest rates, which honestly, let's light this candle. Let's go. DXY is down 96.2 on the month. Ooh, that's quite a move on the month, actually. Monthly candle on DXY is at the lowest down by 3.89. But over the course of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, this is about a year's time frame. This is not a good look. The DXY, the dollar, is down by 13.2%, meaning if you had $100,000, say 12 or 13 months ago, it is now worth $87,000 in buying power as the price of those goods you want to get so badly have increased, right? That is absolutely crazy to me. Forever, Drew, it's magic. Duh. See, and that's it's forever until it's not, right? It's forever until it's not. And then the facade of this whole magic printing, this coin clipping gets found out by society. And then, you know, the canary in the coal mine saying, the canary in the coal mine, you use a canary at the front end of the, or, you know, inside of the mine to start chirping and letting miners know when noxious gas or bad gas is being released inside the mine. Saying that's pretty old out there, but it's basically a warning. I think it's also notable that the canary in the coal mine saying is referenced when people start taking a close look at why their buying power is being diminished rapidly in any civilization, be it Rome, be it the UK, be it the United States, be it, you know, in Deutschland. All of those situations, once people started looking at why the buying power is diminishing so rapidly, within the next 10, 20 years, you have a societal collapse because the government flips the board over and they restart their monopoly game. They get you confused with massive events that scare the living bejesus out of you, keep your head low, and then they just keep moving as normal. And, you know, we should have seen this coming. We should have seen this coming. This is Vitalik Buterin, famous socialist, friend of the channel, billions. The problem with this is his socks literally have holes in them. What billionaire is so worked up about the markets internally trying to hide it, trying to show up to this podcast and be prim and proper, doesn't have socks without holes in it? Like, I'm not even, you know, I'm no massive billionaire by any means. I still get nice wool socks. This is a signal. This is a signal, right? That is just another warning here. I want to take a look at Potenser Tau, though, in this environment. I'm going to look at the 10-10 wick on Potenser Tau because I do like Potenser Tau. I don't think a bunch of AI coins are going to make it, but Tensor is giving signals that it might be a long-haul AI ecosystem play within crypto. So this is from Mark Jeffrey. Is a really, really good account to follow on X if you like the Potenser Tau ecosystem, highlighting a DNA fund. And this is Brock Pierce and Scott Walker behind this fund. Brock Pierce, if you don't know, is a very, very powerful name within the crypto ecosystem. They have entered the Tau Tensor ecosystem with what looks like force. This is off the heels. He reposted this post from Andy, where they've committed $50 million in computing power to Tau's ecosystem in one of the most credible funds in crypto. The fact that they're backing publicly listed Tensor OpCo and the DAT, Decentralized Autonomous Treasury, across multiple subnets means institutional rails are being laid on the underscope. And yes, there's moments of freak out and everything like that, but I got to find the good in the light, and I got to see projects that I think have longevity, especially in situations like this, where it looks like it's apocalypse, and everyone's running for the hills. These are the timeframes where I buy. This time frame does feel vibe-wise very, very similar to the March 2020 dip. It does, absolutely, in my opinion. Let's see here. I want to go through your guys' comment. I gobbled up $150 of that downside liquidity on BTC at $83,010. Whoo! Poop, very nice. A robot can enter a Burger King, or a robot can center the burger on a Big Mac better than a $20 per hour human. Yeah, that is true. That is true. New V word coming. Honestly, I don't think the V stuff is going to have any effect. I think it's kind of played out. They didn't get the results they were looking for last time. They were looking for total control. People like me absolutely said no, hardline no, physical no. It didn't work here in the United States, at least. So I'm going to take a look at altcoins, especially Potenser Tau, but the biggest losers as things sit right now. Let's give this a refresh and get some fresh data up in here because things are moving very quickly on me. How is Canton up? This is crazy. Should just fold. Golly, Canton is at 17.5 cents. That's fantastic. Shout out to anyone that caught my DC video on Canton, literally before it even came out. That's right, baby. Now, Chills, whatever this is, down 18%. Lighter, brand new thing, down 13. OP at 26 cents, absolutely terrifying. This is absolutely terrifying. Yeah, Matoshi, I can absolutely tell you which coins I still hold in this environment. So it is Bitcoin, first and foremost, secondarily followed by Chainlink and Canton. Okay, Canton Network. I have insulated very, very heavily. I do have FOMO on Morpho and Arrow, but with all the uncertainty and all the craziness going on for alts, and with my own personal wishes to take profits and buy my dream vehicle, I made the move. Now, Render is at $1.74. This is ugly. River, this thing that was just going ballistic here. Oh my God, you're right. I forgot to sell that stupid bag of XRP. God. Oh. Yeah, you're right. I still hold, I sold 90% of my XRP a long time ago. I still do hold some of that crap. Optimism at 26 cents. This is a bad sign. This is a bad sign. Pudgy, not great, down 10%. And this is when people are telling me we didn't have any fun, there was no optimism in this cycle. Guys, please look at this chart. This token is at 26 cents. Optimism from rollout pumped by 1,000%, a 10x. Okay. Yes, there was fun to be had. Now there's pain to be had. This is the reality of our situation, right? Reality of our situation. There was fun. Not to mention the AI agent sector, the memes, you know, they all went nuts. Now, I think a lot of the washouts are on the way for vaporware. Keep in mind, a lot of these older coins design their businesses around some beautiful blow off top that came for like dinosaur coins. Like I'm really worried about Avalanche. I'm really, really worried about Avalanche. Um, I am out of Avalanche. I am concerned about it. And it's knocking on the door of literally like release levels here. It released at like $3.90. It's at 10.98. It's an ugly looking chart. I've heard from some of the people that originated this that there are reasons for concern. There are reasons for concern. And this is coming from a guy that I bought a lot at $10. I G'd it at 52. It's treated me well trading wise, even within the last few years. But some of the stuff that I've talked about with the people behind it makes me really quite queasy. It makes me quite queasy to hear about the potentials of what's happening behind the scenes on that one. So I'm hopeful that it works. I want there to be a competitive layer one ecosystem in altcoins, but honestly, like how many seats are there really at the table of the new money, right? With banks, they're not letting go of their position. You just saw what they're doing with the crypto bill, the Genius Act. They're trying to like literally take away the most powerful aspect of crypto outside of Bitcoin self-custody. Shout out to Arculus, get you one and use cold custody if you don't already. But DeFi, banks hate DeFi. They hate the idea that crypto can show this shining light to the average person that's trying to find a way to at least keep up with inflation and stable coins. Banks don't want that. They don't want an exit door for the fiat system, and they're trying to weld it closed right now. Now we see that trying to push this bill down our throats. I'm not liking it. I'm not liking it. I'm not liking it. So, you know, take that for what you will. And then, you know, you're mentioning Ripple. I know Ripple's got like banking licenses all over the world. Honestly, Ripple, the stock, is a good play. I think Ripple, the stock, and like the tech behind Ripple, decent. XRP token, looking a little ugly. Looking a little ugly. Let's go look at XRP. And honestly, like, you know, I'm so mad at myself that I still have some of this. But I think the October 10th wick, I think this truly insane October 10th wick of last year absolutely f***ed us. I think it did. You can see the correlation here from 1010, you know, EFA, EWC, NASDAQ, S&P 500, all doing great. Gold going parabolic. Crypto beat down ever since then. Shout out to you, CZ, friend of the channel. Friend of the channel. Now, where is October 10th? Yeah, October 10th in this monthly wick here. I think that the October 10th wick represents a lot of where the actual interest in these altcoins lies. Like, and I'm talking smaller altcoins, smaller, what do you call it? You know, altcoins, layer ones, things like that. Things that aren't Ethereum or Bitcoin, right? I think the October 10th wick does represent a lot of the true value interest of these things. And right now, XRP, that level went down to $1.55. Okay. And even on things that I like I don't like XRP, even though I hold it, I like Chainlink. And the 1010 wick basically has been accomplished. Now, this goes all the way down to about $10.30 here on Coin Market Cap. But this, take a look. If you have any project in your bag that you're like, is it going to die? How much lower can it go? Look at what that project did on October 10th, because all the liquidity was pulled. Like in 1010 showed me really how early we are in crypto, but all the liquidity was pulled that day. And then you really got a stress test of where actual buying interest lies for a lot of these different projects. Thanks for giving me, give me some projects to look at here. Polygon. Let's go look at Polygon. Polygon, I saw like their TPS is going nuts and like the partnerships are still doing good. You got Polymarket, but it has been very, very brutal. Let's look what happened on 1010 to Polygon. See, it's even below 1010. Jeez Louise. I think this is 10. Yeah, this is October 10th. So Polygon's already gone down below that level. I want to believe Polygon can come back. This is a play from last bull market. They rebranded it though, so that I couldn't show you the data of what it's done in the past. Ooh, fun. That must mean that things are going to the moon. I don't like Polygon. Even though I made like 100x on it last cycle, I don't like what I see on this chart. This looks like escape pump, dump from insiders, a little bit of a miniature escape pump, dump from insiders, escape pump, dump from the insiders. It's probably going to go lower. It's probably going lower. You know, I hate to say it. Let's actually go look at Solana. That's a good point. Yeah, Solana's already flirting with that October. Where is this? October. Yeah, Solana's already lost a lot more ground than most of the altcoins from that October 10th washout. Solana's graph kind of looks like XRP, where you're going to have like this contingent of diehard degens that are going to try to defend previous support levels with their lives, with their wives, and they might lose in this process. You know, I did indeed consolidate out, did well on it, but I consolidated out, and I'm kind of hopeful for like an $80 Solana. Kind of hopeful for an $80 Solana. And that's the sick, twisted person within me, is hoping for lower levels on things that I feel are going to last for a few more cycles at, you know, at bare minimum for my expectations. So I wait for the massive pullback, hammer in when it's low. We bottom blast only. I don't top blast. I never buy a green gigantic candle on anything, no matter if it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And my Uber driver's talking about it, and everyone's talking about it. I don't care. I am not buying a green giant monthly candle on anything. There's what goes up must come down. Let's look at Cardano. Let's look at Cardano. Where's 1010? Where did 1010 take Cardano? Holy cow. Right here. Okay. Cardano is literally knocking at that door of the 1010 washout as we speak. Probably some structural support from the Cardano lovers out there. Very dedicated people. And the thing about Cardano is it's a play into having a decentralized as you can proof of stake layer one. Problem is, as I said before, there's not seats at the table with this new consortium of how money's being set up to move for all of these different layer one projects. So the ethos of what I wanted to see at least proof of stake try to accomplish is there with Cardano. Charles Hoskinson's been very, very blunt about the insane value extraction that we saw with Melania coin and Libra token and all that in an interview with this channel. So Charles Hoskinson, friend of the channel, ADA, looking scary, right? Looking scary. Probably going to be able to defend 20 cents. Probably going to be able to actually defend even up to 25 cents in a greater downturn. But things can go wrong. Things can go wrong very, very quickly. And if this Bitcoin chart does decide to grind down to previous highs, you're going to see some of the scarier targets on these altcoins play out, which is unfortunate, but it all depends on how you act when it happens, right? And anyone that's out here like, you're not acknowledging the downside. I do acknowledge the downside, and I have Tether set up to buy the downside. If you are sitting here just hoping for everything to go to hell in a handbasket without any real plan of what you're going to do if it gets there, is useless to me. Have a plan, build a plan, right? It is what it is, right? And these altcoins, they are highly volatile, in my opinion. With great upside potential comes great downside potential, right? And this is the greatest meme for me in this current environment is I can remain retarded longer than the market can remain bearish. And I absolutely can, right? I did not get into crypto for up price action only. I got into crypto actually for encrypted communication, and then found out about Bitcoin and all these other things that can happen in crypto. And I was like, all right, this is cool. You know, I'll go check it out. Beyond Bitcoin, I found interest in Chainlink, and at the time XRP and Ethereum, you know, and then I bought Polygon just because I liked the logo and it was like 2 cents and I cheated it above $2. It was a great time. So it really like opened my eyes like, wow, I can really change my life quickly with crypto, but there is always the potential that things could get worse. This Friday, after markets close, the positioning of the U.S. aircraft carriers and our Navy is signaling to me that we might actually have an announcement from Trump about Iran. And then last time we did this, we went down south, Venezuela, right? We did some imports. We did some imports out of Venezuela. Markets really didn't care too much, but I think there might be a bigger problem created because China also moves their Navy within reach of that country that I'm talking about, the potential announcement of coming on Friday. And that might be actually more important than a lot of things that we've seen in the past. Bitcoin going to 6-7. Sparrow.
You are banned!
If your child says 6-7, please let me know. Please let me know. Yeah, it's everyone's about to discover round trip crypto strategy. Please, for the love of God. Please, for the love of God. We're not in this round trip. And honestly, like when it's all said and done 5-10 years from now, this is going to be a bump in the road. What we're going through right now, the crazy feelings that we have, the uncertainty, the doubt, the sadness, it's all going to look silly to us if we can remain retarded longer than the market can remain bearish. And I really like this post from Quentin today. Crypto, still one of the most undervalued asymmetric bets out there. Crypto at a $3.2 trillion market cap. I think gold's even above this. I think gold's tapping on the realm of $40 trillion now. Gold literally lost within the day almost the entire market cap of crypto today, right? And then global stocks coming in at 143 trillion. With the things being said and the obvious use case that the government's seeing, finding new buyers of US debt through stable coins, finding ways to put pockets of value into real world assets, create yield on those, and help this debt crisis not get out of control so that they can, you know, keep the masses at bay here in the United States. You do not want an internal conflict breaking out in the United States. It is a very ugly situation for the powers that be to imagine. So I don't think that that's exactly what they want. Maybe some Dems do and maybe some rhinos do, but in general, I think they want to keep the system going to a degree. It's a crazy, crazy time. And I don't blame anyone for feeling uncertain, a little bit queasy in this time frame. But I will say that this does feel like we're getting near the moment where I was able to back up the truck when I started the blockchain basement, $16,000 Bitcoin. You all were there. And it does feel pretty similar to the March 2020 crash, where everyone's like, you're an idiot for going into crypto. Why would you do that? Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. It feels the same to me. It feels the same to me. So just be cautious about this current short-term price action for sure, right? And I would say that spending our time focusing on how to change our lives for the better and not getting too wrapped up in all the negatives going on in the world is pretty darn important. I did crash out about some things like I have going on internally on the basement today, but honestly, they needed to be said, right? We cannot let these insider groups, these crypto VCs, these fake decentralized exchanges continue to take advantage of the average person. The only reason Bitcoin has made it this far is because we can cold custody it on an Oculus device. And a huge shout out to everyone that's in our trading Discord that caught all of these shorts leading up to this crazy, crazy event. If you want to join the Discord, we have a link in our description. You can sign up for free with your user ID that you can get from 2Bit. Click the link, use that link in our description for 2Bit, get a user ID, get in the Discord, get those trades for free. Super chat coming in. Let's check it out here. J. Andrew, Bitcoin would be $200,000 and rising if Fannie Willis put Trump in jail where he belonged. and convicted him back in 2023. Ron DeSantis elected at president. I like Ron. I do like Ron, but Trump is an asshole and he's my asshole. And he's kind of that wrench. I like how Trump's at the later part of his lifespan and he literally has ran out of to give. And so, you know, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. But you know what? I'm just glad it wasn't Kamala. I'm glad that I'm not being cackled at every day. I will say that. I am happy that that's happening. Honestly, who do you guys think would make the best president? Because I am thinking about maybe let, 10 or 20 years play out. Let the youth that feel the aggravation grow up and get to voting age. And then I run for president eventually. And maybe it'll be looked at as a joke because I won't be famous enough by then or whatever. But I'm curious who you guys think would actually be the right choice for president here in the United States, given the current cultural and economic climate. We've got Marco Rubio being called out a few times. Obama. We're going back to Obama. I voted for Obama when I was a young know-nothing. And I was like, yeah, change, man. Fucking change. And there was no change. Actually, we've had, all the things that the Democrats are complaining about the Trump and the borders, they were much more aggressive under Obama. Massey, Reagan, that's a shout out. Mark Wahlberg, okay. Rubio and DeSantis for 2028. You know what? We had the likelihood of the Republican bill being is J.D. Vance. Yeah. J.D. Vance is actually the probable next Republican option. AOC, man, that's chaos. That is chaos. Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard is like Storm from X-Men. That would actually be quite the cinema there. So we'll see. I think it's actually going to be J.D. Vance on the Republican and Newsom as the Democrat. It's how things look right now. Or maybe they can just leave the government shut down forever. But please, for the love of God, in this time frame, as we head into a potential for mass cataclysm, last time we were knocking on the door, something like this, we had FTX go under, Celsius, Luna, all of these major things in crypto went completely bonkers and basically to zero. And there was a cascading event, and a lot of people lost their crypto because they left it on an exchange. You use a centralized exchange to either trade on actively with a small amount of your actual crypto, or to go in and out with spot purchases into cold storage. This is the only way to remain in custody of your crypto's cold storage. It is the king. Here's a message why. I love you guys. Stay based. I'll see you very soon. I think I'm going to start doing these 2 p.m. some more often here.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.